So before we really get started, I want to quickly cover what photo retouching is if you're new to it. Photo retouching is, in its essence, a subcategory of photo manipulation. Photo retouching is still photo manipulation. You're manipulating the photograph to bring out the characteristics or remove the characteristics that you don't like. It just often does not go quite as far as many photo manipulation situations can go. Photo manipulation and photo retouching is nothing new. It's been around even before computers, before Photoshop. It has been used heavily in political propaganda throughout the years to twist photographs to make them appear what is most flattering. You most likely see photo retouching on a daily basis. Almost any photograph that you will see in any advertising of almost any celebrity, unless it's those sort of paparazzi photos, have been retouched in some way or another. In some cases, it will not be very much. It might just be changing the lighting a little bit. It might be going in and adjusting the curves so the contrast works better. In other cases, they might say we want to blur out the background a little bit to make the character stand out more. All these are also photo retouching. It doesn't go quite as far, but pretty much every single photograph that you see that has been professionally taken has been retouched in some form or another. There's many different kinds of photo retouching. As I said, for instance, some might just be adjusting the color, the saturation, the curves a little bit. Other types are sort of in the main industry divided up into, for instance, glamour photography, beauty retouching, and fashion. All of these will generally focus on different things. You will also notice that, for instance, if you're retouching a famous person or just someone that you yourself know, you generally won't go quite as far with the retouching because people have a very solid idea of how the person looks to begin with. Whereas if you're retouching a relatively unknown model for, say, a campaign for a beauty project, you will retouch her much more to a much greater extent because you don't care of what she originally looked like. You just want her to look the way you want her to look like, the way that you want your customers and the people seeing the advertisement. You want her to look whichever way they would prefer, that you would prefer. A golden rule in photo retouching is to remember that most people will never see the original photograph, so don't keep comparing back and forth as you're retouching. Just look at what you got now, how it looks, how it feels, and don't really care about how it compares to the original photograph. The original is not important, people will not see it. So with that in mind, pretty much everything you see in your daily life is photo retouching. Now, as I explained briefly in the introduction to this course, what we're going to be focusing on here is sort of the everyday retouching. We are going to go a bit further than just retouching and adjusting colors and curves. We are going to go in and focus on the sort of retouching that you do on a person and retouch the skin, smooth out different things, and look at that. But we aren't going to go as far as you would in glamour retouching, for instance, which is glamour, beauty, and fashion retouching. Especially glamour and beauty retouching is generally some of the retouching areas where people tend to go much further than you would in other situations. The stuff that we'll be working on is more everyday subtle things that you won't necessarily notice, and that's really the important thing when you're retouching your own things, that for people that you know and that people you will show it to know. So this has been like a brief introduction, very brief introduction to what photo retouching is and how it fits into your daily life and how it fits into image manipulation, which it certainly is. It's not a completely different category, rather it's a subcategory of image manipulation. So with that said, let's in the next lesson have a look at the type of tools that you will be using when you're working with photo retouching.